Hi, in this video, I'm going to talk to you about ObservePoint's HIPAA compliance framework and show you how we can answer some really important critical questions as you're assessing the risk of your websites and their compliance with HIPAA regulatory requirements. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you through some of these key components of our framework, including key questions we answer with ObservePoint, and then I'm going to show you hands-on how to do this. So first, one of the key categories of this framework is technology inventory. We want to be able to answer what technologies are collecting and sharing data with third parties on your website. Are these technologies on authenticated pages where more sensitive data exists? Are these technologies approved? Do they pass our approved vendor list? And if not, which ones are not approved and that we need to address? And which pages are they found on? When were these technologies that are approved or unapproved first introduced to the website, or when were they last seen? We can answer those questions. Do I have a BAA or business association agreement with every third-party vendor who has access to this sensitive data? These are critical questions you as a healthcare organization need to know about your website and data sharing. Sensitive data collection is another category. So exactly what data is being shared with third-party technologies? Is it sensitive health information? Could it be location data? Are there third-party cookies identifying users as they navigate away from your website? And then are those cookies used to retarget or advertise to an individual? Do all fields that collect PHI or PAII have autocomplete disabled? So are we making sure that forms are not automatically, the forms as you complete them, users complete them on your site, are browsers automatically collecting and storing that data that may be sensitive? Is there any PII or PHI present in the URL? So is that information stored in query parameters in the URL that could later be pulled from by analytics technologies? Privacy policy is another category. So is my privacy policy prominently displayed on every page? Is the privacy policy link working? Is it broken? Does that privacy policy link to the right destination? And sorry, I'm going to move my video over here. Is the privacy policy updated recently? I'll show an example of how to do this here soon. So our goal is to answer as many of these questions as we can in this video. If the question is not answered, if there's a question that belongs on this list and you want to know if we can answer it, please challenge us to answer it for you and contact us. We'd love to help. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and dive into ObservePoint next. So I ran some basic audits. In ObservePoint, you kind of have a simple audit setup mode, which you're presented when you first get in here. There's also an advanced audit setup mode. For the purposes of today and demonstrating all of this, you can use the simple mode. But if you want to create an authenticated site-wide audit, for example, you're going to want to use the advanced mode. And there's great documentation on how to create each kind. We'll dive into this a little bit in a minute. Just know that if you are not an ObservePoint customer today or user, you can create a free account and you can demonstrate any of the capabilities I'm showing you today. You'll just be limited in the number of pages you can scan. But everything I can show you today, all the questions we can answer for you with a free account. So check it out. All right, so I'm going to dive in. I'm actually going to focus a lot of my time not on the data sources that we created, but the information that we collected with these data sources. So these scans, they run on a regular cadence, and you can envision setting up your own audits to run on a weekly, monthly cadence so that you have a pulse on these potential exposure points for personal information or HIPAA noncompliance. You don't want it to be the annual assessment to be the time where we reveal that we were not compliant. You'd rather be ahead of it and make sure that monitoring is in place so that you can track when changes took place that made you not compliant and understand the exposure. That'll be really, really important as you represent your website's compliance and also your governance program. So I'm going to go into reports here, and I'm actually going to show you some reports that will help answer these questions. So in the top right corner, you can see there's create a new report. This will show you all the different report types that we support. And we're focused today, we'll talk about browser logs, cookies, links, and tag variables. We could go deeper, but that's all we'll probably have time for in this video. Maybe not even that much time to cover that. But we'll go fast. And I also want you to know that there is a template gallery in case you wanted to get started quickly with one of these templates. You might want to explore that. Okay, so I'm going to start by showing you some information we can pull from the tag variables report. This report is going to pull all the information from every page we scanned, all the tags we found across the audits in our account. I'm going to bring in, you'll notice here in the reports you can add new columns. So I'm going to add additional columns. I'm going to pull in tag vendor and tag category and tag account. All these can be useful context. The account, for example, tells you which specific instance of a technology it is. So maybe there's multiple Google Ads accounts that you work with, or maybe you have agencies or third parties that use Google Ads, but you have your own personal one within your organization. So just know that that's what that means. The tag vendor and tag category, I think, are pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so let's answer the question first. What are the tags on my website, and what are the vendors and categories that exist? So one of the things I'm going to do in our reporting interface here is I'm going to group by this tag column, and this is really powerful capability, and it can be intimidating for some. But if you've done pivot tables in Excel, this will feel pretty similar. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select these three dots. I'm going to select group, and I'm going to take this what is millions of rows of data, and it's going to compress that down to just a row representing each of the tags that we have found. You can see there's a count of 48 unique tags. I'm also want to know the vendor and the category in this report. I want to see those. So what happened is when I pivoted, I grouped by that column. All the other columns turned into statistics or min or max values. Like here's averages or unique. You could find sums or unique counts, things like that. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to pull in the tag vendor as well. I'm going to group by this column, and I'm going to group by tag category too, because I think that's a good insight. So now I have every tag, 48 unique tags, and you can see we're counting here. It's still loading. There we go. 24 unique tag vendors and 12 unique tag categories. So one of the questions is in our framework is which vendors are collecting information on our website, which vendors are we sharing data with, and do we have a BAA with them? Well, if you have a list of all the customers or vendors that you work with, that you have a BAA in place, you could compare that against this list and see is that list matching? Are there other vendors that ObservePoint detected that have access to sensitive information that we haven't identified? You'll notice that Adobe's not here multiple times, for example. So there could be some redundancy. All you do is ungroup by tag and tag category, and you should get to that unique list of vendors. But here we have 48 unique tags, and you can see how many pages those tags are on. Some are on one page, some are on thousands of pages. Variable name and value data is super important, so I'm going to get to that in a second. Also bringing tag account ID just so you can have that in context. But this is going to answer a lot of key questions for you. All this data is exportable, so you can export as a CSV. You can also drill into these pages. So if I want to see the 3,091 pages, I can drill into it. I won't have time for that today, but you can drill into these reports. You can save them. You can schedule this report to be sent to you on a regular cadence. There's lots of cool capabilities, and we have charting that you can use to build maybe a trend line that shows the number of unique tags over time. That's a very simple chart you could create. So I won't go deeper onto the reporting interface in general, but I am going to show you some more questions we can answer. So let me ungroup by tag real quick. And let's see that tag vendor count go from 24. It should go down. Actually, maybe because it's using count distinct, we're good. It was 24. That was the correct number. So it was already factoring out duplicates. All right, now I want to look into tag variable data because this is a really important thing for HIPAA compliance. I'm going to go ahead and ungroup all of the rows again. So I'm just looking at the raw table of data with no aggregation. And I'm going to look at tag and variable data. So on the far right side, you'll see tag variable name, which sometimes can be an indicator of what data is collected. And then I'll see value. Now, there's a lot of powerful information that is collected here, and being able to filter by this information, analyze it, is where you can get a ton of value from ObservePoint in complying with HIPAA requirements. So we could look for terms that represent health information or personal information. We can filter by, let's say we ran an audit and we had authenticated a test user where we authenticated and logged in as that user. And we could filter by that user's first name, their last name, their email address. We could look for other attributes associated with that user, like a record ID. We could search for that inside of every tag and every variable we collected across our scan. Pretty powerful. And then you can also use regular expressions if you wanted to look for something more generic, like an email address or a social security number, or again, it could be a unique identifier that represents medical information. Like a patient ID, that type of information you could also search for using a regular expression. If you go this route, I recommend you use a large language model to help you create a great regular expression, or contact our team. We'd be happy to help. So just by filtering by, information like an email address, you could analyze this data really, really fast. And you could look at, this is actually representing 4.5 million rows of data, 4.5 million unique tag variable values. And so that means you're going to want to filter that down and analyze it. There's so much data to be looked at and inspected, but this will help you have confidence that you're not collecting sensitive information. All right, I'm going to go to another example. Let's talk about the links example. So we talked about links and the importance of making sure they're on every page, making sure they're accessible. So here's all the links that we have collected across these scans. There are 90,000 unique links in this table. I'm going to bring in other attributes like the link text, which is collected here. And I'm going to bring in some other information like the link destination final page status code. And I'll bring in the status code type because I like to reference that. And then I will auto size this so you can read it a little bit better. And then notice how there's a skip to main content. This is actually an accessibility related link. It is important your website be accessible, but we're not going to focus on that today. So I'm going to actually exclude this from our report. And I'll look at just other links. So here I have links that say videos, weird URLs. This is actually a test website, so it's got some kind of funny links on it. And you can see some status codes. And what if I wanted to find, let's say I wanted to find all my privacy links. In this case, we might not have any, and so that would be something to go check. Look, we don't have any privacy links. That's a big problem. We need to go address that. We could also say filter by the final page status code type, and we could say, are there any broken privacy links? So I could narrow that down even more. I'll go ahead and remove that privacy filter and just look for broken links. But you can imagine how that would extend to looking for broken privacy links. You could also bring in the destination final page URL, which will tell us the destination of those links. And if we're talking about privacy policies, you might want to check and make sure that the destination is always pointing to your intended destination and not somewhere else. So there's links. There's a lot of things you can do here and analyze further. I'm going to next go to cookies. So one of the examples you might want to be cautious of is sharing data with third parties, especially advertisers. One of the most famous stories about HIPAA compliance is, the dad that found out his daughter was pregnant because he got something in the mail, an advertisement pushing it through the mail. And we want to make sure that we don't create those experiences for our customers and protect their privacy. And one of the ways we can do that is by making sure third-party cookies by advertisers are not collecting data, especially on pages that show health information. So imagine you have a web page that's about cancer. You probably don't want a third-party cookie set on the web page to an advertiser who will later advertise, medications or treatments or care centers for cancer. So one of the things I can do, I have the final page URL here. I can search for, we already have cookie domain here, so I can search for a specific cookie domain. I also like the initiated by tags column, and I can also bring initiated by tag categories. And so I can say, okay, there's a third-party cookie. Let's filter here. Third-party cookie, and it's, sorry, let me auto-size this. It's an advertising cookie. And that's perfect. So what are all the pages where I have a third-party advertising cookie on my website? Here's the answer right here. These 3,639 pages. And there's the names of the cookies. There's 25 unique cookies that you might want to go and explore and potentially remove from your site. So cookie reporting, very powerful for HIPAA compliance and assessing risk. Let's get into some more advanced use cases. So I'm actually, one of the use cases is, I mentioned earlier, is to check to make sure your privacy policy is up to date. And so I actually went to ObservePoint's website. I found a privacy policy page, and I have an effective date here saying the last time we updated it. Well, I actually took a screenshot of the HTML of this page. I dropped that into a large language model. I said, here's the HTML, here's that effective date. I want you to write a script that checks the effective date, compares it to today's date, and tells me if it's been more than 12 months, if it's more than 12 months old. And so this script took care of that. And then I went into ObservePoint, went to my audits. This is, I know, again, I feel advanced for you, but I went to my audits. I went to the advanced settings where we have on-page actions, and I executed that script as an on-page action. When I copy and paste on-page script in here as an on-page action, it actually gets executed on every single page. So every single page, it's checking and running the script, and it's going to throw a warning if that's the case. Now, after the results are in, after we've run the scan with that script applied, I then go to my reports again. In this case, I can use browser logs, and I'm going to filter by log level. I'm going to filter to warnings, and then I'll apply additional filters on the log message, saying things like checking for words like, out of date. I think outdated is the word that we used. So let's say outdated or privacy policy. If I see a warning that's associated with my privacy policy, I can see in this report. In this case, no results. That's good. That means there were no warnings thrown, and everything's good on my website. But you can see how this might apply also to other data you might collect on a page. Maybe you want to check for specific required language in your privacy policies across multiple sites, or maybe you want to make sure, maybe you want to check the forms on a page and check if the autocomplete attribute is on the form or any form inputs. So that's another question we had in our framework that you can answer using that same, a little bit more advanced method because we're using a little bit of code, but thanks to AI, it's actually much easier. So that's it for this video. I want to, if you want to go deeper into how to create an audit or how to build any of these reports, we recommend you contact us. We hope you found this valuable and that it gives you confidence that you have a tool in your arsenal, a tool in your tool belt that you can use to support you in your quest to comply with HIPAA regulations. And we hope that you find yourself on feeling more confident and having peace of mind with these tools. So if you have questions, again, please reach out. Have an awesome day.